Hello everyone, it's Dawn. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to our new subscribers. Lovely to have you on board. And welcome to our long-term subscribers. Lovely to have you here too. So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, not too different, but we're going to be using our scraps. So if you've got scraps of plain coloured cards, for example, yellows, blues, greens, and you've got those little scraps and you don't want to throw them away, but you don't know what to do with them. Now this is one of these projects that you can use some of them for. So we're only going to use 4 scraps today. We're going to be using a red, a green, a yellow and a blue. And we're going to use a couple of stamps to embellish them. So I've got my stamping platform ready just to my side. So we'll be using that in just a moment. So I'm going to use, what I'm going to do actually is bring my strips in. I've already cut them down. They're roughly 1/2 inch deep. I haven't measured them, so if you want a measurement, your card is, or this card is going to be a 6x4, or it is a 6x4, but this is one of those projects. You can make it any size you like. You can adapt this for any size of card. It's so simple. You can just change it and you'll see what I mean as we go along. So, oops, I'm going to use some standard quick dry PVA glue. And I'm going to put my strips. I'm using 4 strips, but of course you can use as many as you like. You can make a bigger card. You can put your strips in a different orientation. I'm going to put mine horizontally, but you can put yours vertically. You can put them diagonally. You can put them how you like. But for this project, I'm going to keep it simple. And we're going to put them horizontally. So we'll put one on at a time. So I've already got them in the order that I want, just to make the video go a little bit quicker. And we're going to stick them down. I know the strips are too long at the moment, but it's a lot easier to make them too long and then cut them off than it is to try and get them exactly the same size, because sometimes as you're putting the glue on, it stretches or it shrinks, and then you find that it's not quite big enough and you've got these horrible little gaps at the edge, which if you don't mind that, that's fine, but I actually do mind. That's one of the few things that I do mind, because I think it looks a bit odd. So I'm going to lay this down. The only thing I will say, the only tip I will give you, or need to give you, is when you're doing this, because we're going to be stamping over this, when you cut your strips, or when you choose your strips I should say, make sure you're using the same thickness of card throughout, because if you, for example, if this bit is thicker than the next bit, the stamping might look a bit odd and it might not catch. So make sure you're using the same thickness throughout. For example, for this particular project, my card all came from one packet. They're all 260 GSM, but you don't have to use 260 GSM. You can use coloured paper if you want to, but as long as they're all the same thickness, because then unless of course you're not stamping, then it doesn't matter. But if you're going to be stamping over this, I'd strongly recommend that you use the same thickness of card throughout. Not necessarily for your card base, but for these strips that we're putting on. It'll just make your stamping smoother, and it'll reduce the risk of missing anything. It won't miss any bits. So we are going to just put one more strip on. We're going to do this all together because it won't take long. And it is quite good fun watching it build up. And this time we're going to put a sentiment on. Usually I have a sentiment all prepared and stamped and cut out and ready just to stick on, but we're going to do this all together, which I've never done on video before, so it could go horribly wrong, but hey ho, this is crafting. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to have a go. So I'm going to turn it over and just cut up to the edge, but be especially careful when you're doing the folded edge, because if you cut the folded edge, the card will just collapse and it won't stand up. So try not to do that. So just go up to the edge like that and just cut gently along like that. And you will have a perfectly cut card. Just brush those to one side. We'll deal with those later. And I'm going to put the card up there for a moment because I need my stamping platform. This is where, but I will be bringing the card back because obviously we need the stamping platform and the card inside the stamping platform. So let's just grab that, open it out, put the stamping platform where you can see it. That's always a good idea. Right, I'm just going to move a couple, well actually I'm going to remove all of the magnets for the time being, because I'm not quite sure how many we need. I always like to use at least one. I think I'm going to put one in opposite corners. I think that'll probably be enough. Now, I've got my stamp. Now, I've not used this stamp before. So what I'm going to do, once I've decided where it's going, I think we're going to have it about there. I want it coming off the top and the bottom. I want it slightly bigger so it comes off. It doesn't just cover this bit, it comes off above and below. So line it up. If you've never used a stamping platform before, press it down and open it out. Now, this is a new stamp. Well, new to me anyway. It's from a previous creative stamping magazine. So if this is a new stamp, if you're using a new stamp, once you've got it on your platform, once you've got your stamp on your platform, just take an eraser and rub over the top. This just takes off the manufacturer's film. If you've not seen this process done before, you won't see anything, but it is there. Trust me, you'll know. If you try and do this with a new stamp without taking that off, you'll see the difference straight away. So, like that. Or if you haven't got an eraser, just use your thumb, use your fingers. But I did actually do this before starting the video, so that should be beautiful. Or it should be well and truly primed by now. That's what we call priming our stamps. Now, I've just picked an old colour block, ink block from my stash, and I'm going to ink it up. That's why we're using a stamping platform, so that if this doesn't go right first time, which it might not, we can do it again. As long as it stays in place, as long as neither the card nor the stamp move, you can do this as many times as you like. So we're going to put it over, and if you've got one like mine, which has springs on it, you can line it up before the stamp touches the paper or the card. So we're going to hold it down, make sure we've got a flat surface, hold it down for a few seconds to give the ink time to transfer. That's the biggest mistake that some people make when they're stamping. They say, I get so many people saying, oh, my stamp images weren't very good. It's probably because you didn't press it long enough. So that should be enough. Let's have a look. Okay, so that does need doing again. So what we'll do, we'll press, this is a new ink pad, but I haven't used it for a long time. Newish ink pad, I should say. But I haven't used it for quite some time, so it might need pressing or to release more of the ink. So we will do that again. Pop it on, hold it down for a few seconds, just give it I'd say at least 10 to 15 seconds. That's what I usually do. 10 to 15 seconds is usually long enough. But this is an old ink block, as I say, and quite dry. That's better. And I am going to do it just one more time, especially down here by the leaves. The bottom of those leaves didn't stamp terribly well. And the top of the flower didn't stamp very well. So we're going to do that just one more time, give it a good inking up. So however it comes out this time, we'll live with it. So I'll give it an extra push there and an extra push at the top. So we'll hold it down for just a few seconds and see how that goes. Right, now let's have a look. Oh, that's better. Even there, it still missed a little bit, but do you know what? We're going to live with that. And I'm going to take that off, and I am going to give it a quick clean. So I just use, these are water wipes, these are baby wipes. Just an ordinary, inexpensive pack of baby wipes. Now, I am going to give that a quick clean because I want to put another stamp on there and I don't want it picking up that colour. So we're just going to give that a quick wipe, like that. And in my stash, I'm just going to move that because it's right where I want my sentiment to be. So without moving the card, I'm just going to move the magnet. And I'll just make sure I put this the right way around. The trouble with stamps is, when you look at them, they're back to front. So it's a bit difficult to see which is which. I think that's the right way around. Yes, it is. So I'm going to put that in the corner. That's where I want it. That's why I started a bit further up. So we're going to put that there. You'll see what it says when we stamp it. So again, I'm going to take that over, and I am going to give it a bit of a wipe because again, I've not used this stamp before. This is the first time of using it, so I am going to give it a bit of a wipe. Now, you can't see that. I've just noticed you can't see that. So if I put that up there, then you'll see it. Give it a bit of a wipe. And I'm going to use a different coloured ink to stamp my sentiment. I'm going to use a blue. And we might have to do this a couple of times as well because I haven't used my inks for quite some time, or this batch anyway. And they might be a bit dry, so it might need a couple of goes, but we'll see how it goes. So we're going to take that over, hold it down for a few seconds, 10 to 15 seconds, and then we'll lift it up in a few minutes or a few seconds, have a look at it and see how it looks. Right, let's have a look now. You don't have to be perfect to be amazing. I like that. And I am actually going to give that just one more coating. I am just going to give that one more going over, and that should be fine. So I'm just going to press down for a few seconds, let the ink transfer. And if you're using smooth card, that also helps. If you're using a very rough textured card, that's not good for stamping because it'll come out knobbly. So that should do it. There we go, that's great. So I'll, again, well actually, do you know what, I can use the same one. I just want to wipe my stamping platform. So I'll clean off the stamps in a minute. So I'm just going to take that off, like that. Put those back. Take the card out of the platform. Oops, sorry about that. And put that to one side. And there we go. In a very few, but very easy strokes and a few techniques, we have got a lovely simple background with a very simple image and a sentiment, and it looks great. So you could put something bolder on this if you wanted it bolder than a stamp. You could use a die cut if you wanted to, but I quite like that sort of lost and found image of the stamp going through. It makes your eyes work and work out what it's trying to be. And I love this. You don't have to be perfect to be amazing. So that's our project for today. And that's just using our scraps and a couple of stamps that I haven't had the chance to use yet or had the opportunity to use yet. So go on, look at your stamps, especially if you've got stamps. And as I say, you can use a die for this if you want to, that you haven't used for a long time or maybe even at all. We've all got scraps, so dig out your scraps. Even if you haven't got coloured scraps, I'll give you a tip. Use your white scraps and just colour them with ink or your alcohol pens or whatever colouring materials you've got and see what you come up with. And we'd love to see your versions over on Crafty Capers with Dawn Facebook group. So do come and show us. And I will be back next week with a new project for you. So in the meantime, have an amazing weekend and I will see you next week. And in the meantime, take care everybody, have fun, and as always, happy crafting. Bye bye for now.